Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Uh, Steve Mayer, who's the president of content and events, is here with me, obviously. Uh, Frankly, after the last 2 weeks, which were terrific, it's good to be back and playing our games as we head to the playoffs. And we're anticipating an exciting stretch run as we normally get, and can't wait for the playoffs to begin. But obviously, the last 2 weeks, and especially Thursday night's game, was extraordinary. Uh, that's part of your doing too, is events. To confirm, which is probably the worst kept secret on the face of the earth, the 2025 Upper Deck NHL Draft will be held here in Los Angeles at the Peacock Theater on June 27th and 28th. And so if you need it, you have a soundbite, but it's already out there and you all know it. And we're excited. It's not the first time in modern times that the Kings have hosted the draft for us, and we're thrilled to be back in LA. As I think everybody knows, this is going to be different than the way we have historically conducted the draft. The change was made at the request of the clubs, and the prospects will be with us here in Los Angeles, not with the clubs that are proposing to draft them. So we're anticipating a good event. We know LA and AEG will be great hosts, and as will the Peacock Theater, and so we're looking forward to doing it. But that's down the road, actually. We actually have another big event next weekend in Columbus.
And tomorrow.
And tomorrow. Well, I was going to get to that. And so we're both here for that as well. We're excited to support Skate for LA Strong and to support the community at large after what has been an obvious horrendous time. And we look forward in any small way we can to helping with the recovery. And with that, unless you want to add something, we will be happy to take your questions.
Before we jump into upcoming events, just to talk more about the Four Nations, for both of you, what was maybe the most surprising thing that you saw or learned or discovered about the kind of new fans that were created from these last 2 weeks?
I wasn't surprised. I mean, obviously, the level of the reaction, in terms of the rating, which I think has surprised everybody in sports and in the media business. But we know how important best on best international competition is to our players. They are not just passionate about the game. You say hockey players, they go play a pickup game of shinny and they go all out. That's the nature of our players. And one of the reasons, probably the most important reason, we figured out ways to get back to the Olympics and create a World Cup was to reflect what we knew was important to the players and to the fans. And based on the timing of all this, part of the context is long before I got to the league, which I guess was long ago. The way that international competition was set up was a joint venture, a partnership between the league and the Players Association, and not just financially, all decision making and everything else. And when Marty Walsh came in, he made it clear this was a priority, and he was prepared to make the decisions that had to be made to make this a reality, which is the reason we had a little bit of a hiatus, because that wasn't the case. I want to say that as gently as I can. And so we believed that since we were aligning Olympics, World Cup every 2 years, international best on best, we wanted to give everybody a sample of how good it could really be. And you see the passion that the players brought to the games. The games were all intense. Just look at the injury factor. Nobody was kidding around out there, and it meant a lot to the players.
I remember one moment, which was about 2 weeks before Four Nations. We were actually here in Los Angeles prepping for the draft and tomorrow's event, and we happened to be at the JW Marriott across the way, And it was after the Florida Panthers had played the Kings, and in walked the Panthers, and in walked Matthew Tkachuk. And he spotted me, and he came over, and he said, 2 weeks to Four Nations. And at that time, I realized the players wanted to play this so much. They were so into it. And you saw the player buy-in was exceptional. And they played, as the commissioner said, so hard. And it grew and grew. And when you get that many fans watching on television, yes, you've got your hockey fans watching, but it's sports fans and just fans of great competition. And, for us, that's important. We need to seize on that. We need to keep the momentum going. We've got 40 days or so before the playoffs begin. And, but that was exceptional. And it was really fun to watch it grow.
I think some of the surprise, and it was nobody in this room, I'm sure, there was some critical commentary and skepticism that this is a meaningless exhibition, the players won't care, nobody's buying tickets. And I remember at the media avail I had before the first game, I got the question about tickets, about, well, are you disappointed? I go, we're over 90% sold without anybody knowing who's playing in the final yet. And we were basically sold out for all 7 games. So I think some of it was, there was some perceived skepticism as to how good this would be. But that comes from, as we've both been saying, people underestimating our players and how they feel about the game and representing their countries. And again, our sport has a pretty good history and tradition of players from the time they're teenagers representing their countries, World Juniors, they go play in the World Championships if they don't make the playoffs. So this is in their DNA. Next question. Yeah.
I'm curious, being probably the oldest Angelino in this room right now, and covering the league for a half a century.
You older than me?
You're not an Angelino.
No, but I was just curious where we. Oh, so you're not? Okay, thanks.
But I want to first thank you for bringing the draft here because the city needs a lot. And I'm curious what kind of talk there was as far as the decision making of bringing that here because of the devastation.
Yes, I mean, everything gets taken into account. I mean, we were focused on LA, but this made it a priority and important. And, and frankly, being in the Peacock Theater makes this a little bit more manageable for us. But it's kind of consistent with why Steve has been working with the Kings, and all our events people have been working with the Kings to make sure tomorrow is a success. And, I'm hoping that with everything that's going on, we'll see a full building here tonight. I think people are excited to see us getting back to playing the schedule. So, coming here was important, and which is why we're both sitting here with you now.
Gary, on top, another thing on the Four Nations, there's obviously the competition itself and the level of it and how many millions of fans got into that aspect of it. It seemed to also enter the realm where things beyond it amplified it, even in the political sphere and whatsoever. Could you have imagined that it became sort of a talking point? By the time the final came, it became a talking point even in the greater sports landscape.
We try to stay out of the politics. We made announcements before the anthems in every game. Please respect the players and the anthems that are being represented. I think there was a little bit of that, but I think in the final analysis, it came down to what took place on the ice, and the players said that had nothing to do with it. They're just fierce rivals under any circumstances. So, we saw the overlay. Obviously, President Trump called the U.S. team. Prime Minister Trudeau actually was at one of the games in Montreal, and I believe if President Trump hadn't been committed to do something else, he would have come up as well. So with the overlay was there, but as it affected the competitions, I don't think so. And frankly, I think in the later stages, I think the booing was overrated in terms of the response. There was some din, but for the most part, people were respectful. And in fact, for the last game in Boston, a lot of people in that arena were singing "Oh Canada." So, listen, sports, and I like to think hockey, is about bringing people together, okay? And I think the Canadian and American hockey teams have a rivalry that's intense without anything else affecting it.
To have to follow up real quick, and maybe Steve, you could chime in on this because you mentioned the momentum and building on this. It felt like for the league, for hockey itself, that it kind of became a moment. So
Yeah.
how do you seize that? How do you keep that momentum that you know in terms of hockey and the greater sports populace?
You know what? We're going to keep. We have complete confidence in our game and in our players and what our entertainment value is. And so what do? We're going to go have a game in Columbus next weekend with between 85 and 90,000 fans in the Ohio State Stadium in Columbus. If I would have told you 25 years ago we were going to do an outdoor game in Columbus and have 85 or 90,000 fans there, you would think I was crazy. Now, you may think I'm crazy anyway, but I will also say that Turner Sports and the Walt Disney Company, ESPN and ABC, did an extraordinary job of covering and promoting the games in this country, obviously Rogers in Canada. And so we're going to use this opportunity to keep reaching out to people who maybe didn't know us before.
Yeah, that point, if you watched as the tournament went on, I mean, we were on every ancillary program. Finally, and I say that because we get our moments, but we were the focus. We were the headline. And that's super for us. And if that can continue, there are some stars that came out of Four Nations. So we need to continue to build those stars and put them out there. And then, as the commissioner said, I mean, we've got our outdoor game coming next week. We've got a chase for the all-time goal record, which is heating up and could happen this season, which is going to get the attention not only of hockey fans, but sports fans. And we're on our stretch drive to the playoffs. And as we all know in this room, the playoffs are special. And so we feel like we can keep this momentum going all the way through to the end of the year.
And some of this may be the momentum, because let's not forget last June we did, really big numbers for Game 7 and for that whole Stanley Cup final. So, yeah, I mean, we think this gives us more people who may be interested in us, and we're going to try and cultivate them.
You introduced
But
One question about the event tomorrow, just how and when the idea came about, and the opportunity for Lizzie to help to give back in a time of need here.
Yeah, so obviously what happened here was horrific and affected not only the people of Los Angeles but everywhere. And back in New York, we immediately talked about what can we do, and made a call to Luc Robitaille. And Luc had already, as I see him hiding back there, he had already thought of the exact same idea.
Great minds
And
think
when great
alike.
minds think alike, we said, let's do this. And we put our teams together. And we've been working for the last month or so together. I mean, it's been quite an experience to get to this point. There's going to be quite a list, and I think we released a new list today, quite a group of celebrities who are really into this, not only because it's going to be fun and they're going to get to play some hockey at Crypto.com, but because they're giving to a great cause. And we think we're going to raise a lot of money. The crowd here is made up of firefighters, first responders, displaced families, and we announced some pretty big names who literally can't wait till tomorrow. We got one call from a guy named Bieber today who is really looking forward to it. And that's what this is all about. It's the people that are out there are true hockey lovers, and this is their way to give back. So it's really cool.
And to just add to that, and it goes to something I said before in a different context, we like to view hockey and sports as an opportunity to bring people together. And we've always made it one of our values that if we can make a difference in the lives of the people that are in the communities in which we serve and have franchises, we should be doing that. And that's what we try to do. Wait, one second. Luke, do you want to add anything? No? Okay. Then just I don't want you to feel excluded. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I can go back to Four Nations real quick, you guys implemented a couple new rule changes with the standings point system with the 3-1, and then the increase minutes in overtime. What was your guys'
We didn't want to decide who made the final with the tiebreakers. So we wanted to use a system which I don't think would work as well in the regular season in either case, in terms of wear and tear on the players and the ice in the case of the 10-minute overtime and the point system and what it reflects. So these were done specifically to address making sure that we had two teams that came out of the round robin clearly, and we weren't deciding it on tiebreakers.
Is that something you could see maybe being implemented in the NHL?
Nah, I'm not. I like what we have. Okay, this was done specifically for this tournament.
Is there a time frame where you want to make a decision on how you want to go in the future with Four Nations, or
Well,
is this a year-to-year thing?
Well, we haven't decided what we're going to do next year before we go to the Olympics. But again, in 26 Olympics, 28 World Cup, 30 Olympic, and what we do in the intervening years, we're going to have to take a good look at. I mean, we announced an All-Star game at UBS for Islanders home on Long Island as a kickoff to go to the Olympics. What that looks like, we're going to have to take a good look at, understanding what worked really, really well and what our players were excited about. And so we're already talking about that. Good question. All the questions have been good. Any other questions?
Jerry,
Yes.
with the draft change format, traditionally teams have announced their own.
Yeah.
Will you be-
I'm it. For the first round, it's me. In the second round, it's Bill Daly. Well, he does it anyway because it would go up to him on the quad. And remember, the clubs asked for this. I wasn't looking for any more exposure. I have more than enough. But this is what the clubs told us they wanted, and we're going to try it. And we'll see after this year whether or not everybody likes it better. But we anticipate having a full building. The Peacock Theater seats, between 4,500 and 7,100 people. Depending on what configuration Steve thinks we need, it'll be full. And yes, I will be the one announcing the names. Hopefully there won't be too many hard to pronounce. But one of the things, because, I've been doing this a little bit of time, I always liked the way it came off when the clubs were announcing their own picks with their, whatever they wanted to say, either thanking somebody at home, honoring somebody, remembering somebody. I always like that personal touch, but again, this is what the clubs wanted. Overwhelmingly, we put it out to a vote, actually.
Like you mentioned, the clubs, making it clear that they want to do. It's still tough to go away from the Sphere and even Vegas.
Yeah, well,
Give the spectacle.
We decided to go out with a bang. It wasn't practical to keep going back to the Sphere for a whole host of reasons, including what it cost. But it was extraordinary. We spent multiples, maybe exponentially, of what we normally spend for a draft. But we decided if we're going to finish off the way we did it under the old format, we were going to do it as big as we could. And the Sphere was great in terms of how they accommodated us.
Is the most important question coming out of the Four Nations how you take advantage of that passion that grew last week and not let it just slip away and make it
Yeah.
something
I think Steve addressed it, and you can do that again.
for the long haul?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we just have to keep the momentum going in every which way, and we'll do that in various ways. But again, we have some benchmark moments coming up that will help, and I think we'll see the effect of Four Nations on those moments as well. I do.
And you can all help us with that, because the more of our game and our players and the stories that you convey, the more people will feel connected to the game. So go for it.
Exactly.
As far as outdoor games, obviously you got the two Florida ones.
Yeah.
Next year they'll be moving into there for the first time. So, any appetite being cultivated toward bringing an outdoor game back to California?
Yeah, we've been talking about it. It's on the list of things we're looking at, and so the answer is yes. We're intrigued and excited about the prospects of next winter in Florida with the two games. The reactions I've gotten, and I think Steve has gotten, is, wow, this is creative, this is innovative, this takes a lot of effort And are you guys crazy? But we wouldn't be doing it unless we thought we could do this under real game conditions. And we think, and remember, we're playing the games at night, and we're preparing the ice in a enclosed facility. Whether it's the Marlins Stadium, the roof will be closed while we're doing it, and we're going to build something in Tampa, which will then get removed at the last second. So we think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope that when we talk here next February, I still have my job. No, it's going to be.
It's on me.
No,
ultimately.
it's what we're going to do will be a great story in both places, especially in Tampa. How we're going to construct this.
Well, no, both games, especially in both places. The construction.
Because-
You know, we have to worry about all of our children.
But in
okay?
Tampa, we're going to construct this essentially a warehouse of which we're going to build underneath it, and then remove it at the very last second. So it's super exciting, and we think it's going to be great and unique, and definitely something that a lot of people will tune in because it's going to be a big story for us next year.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bettman, in the aftermath of Four Nations, where would you say, where does this leave the league in respect to potential NHL franchise expansion in the future?
As I've been saying probably now for a couple of years, we have a number of places, people who have expressed an interest. The core principles for expansion are, as I've repeatedly said, ownership, market, arena, and does it make the league stronger? We are not going to now issue a deadline in an application and say everybody who wants an expansion team come forward now. When somebody or some city or some combination is ready to check all the boxes I've just outlined, then we'll take a look at it. Doesn't mean we're going to expand, doesn't mean we're not. The expressions of interest are there. We've actually more recently heard from yet another city, and so we'll see. The good news is the 32 franchises we have never been healthier, and if you look at how we did the last two expansions, I think there hasn't in any sport been expansion as successful as Vegas and Seattle. And it's not like we didn't have skeptics. That happens a lot to us, but we use that as a motivating factor.
How much longer do you want to do this?
So I get the old question again.
By the way, I looked it up, you're 13 months older, but go ahead.
That's it? How come you look so much younger than me?
Because your eyes are going on. Go ahead.
I've used that line. The answer is I love what I do. I'm energized by it. It doesn't stop me from getting on a plane and going anywhere, as evidenced by the fact that we just finished 2 weeks running around in two places where I don't think it ever got over 20 degrees. And I'm here today and tomorrow. I'm going to red-eye back because I need to be in the office on Monday. I love what I do. Ultimately, it's up to the owners. And as long as they think I'm doing a good job and as long as I have the energy and the passion, I'll do it. You stop having the passion, then it's time to not do it anymore. But I don't envision that right now. Thank you. Sold guys have to stick together. That's it. Anybody else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.